morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Abel Shi. For me to graduate from high school and as requested, I'm going to make a speech about myself and what I believe. As all you can see, I do not come from Canada. The place where I came from is a city which is approximately 10,000 miles from here, Hong Kong. You all may have seen pictures of Hong Kong, high rises everywhere, people and cars are all over the place. But exactly what is the difference between Kelowna and Hong Kong? Well, firstly, the area of both cities is around the same. Kelowna has around 150 kilometers square more than Hong Kong, of course including the suburbs. Secondly, in Kelowna, the density of population in the city is around 553 kilometers square, and in Hong Kong the density is 6,544 kilometers square. You may think, well, it's just 12 times more the density. It's not a lot more. But one thing is that 59.8% of Hong Kong's area is water, meaning that the city area is even smaller. This explains why Hong Kong's population is so dense. So, the size difference between the two cities shocked me a lot when I first moved here 2 years ago. The time I was like, well, I guess small towns must have something that is better than big cities. So I lived with it. After 6 months, I was right for the environment. The environment here is way better than Hong Kong. The air is fresh here, it's not hot there compared to Hong Kong. And when the weather is good, any pictures you take can be a wallpaper of your phone. But I was wrong about everything else. The first thing is the transport in Kelowna. It sucks. The bus goes nowhere. The taxis are expensive. I mean, it's really expensive if you have to take a taxi. Other than that, you can only either drive or bike or walk. And as I am not allowed to drive, I only have the tiring ways left to choose. The second thing is the food. The food in Kelowna is expensive. Although, only coffee shops such as Timmy's are cheap, and the choices of food are limited in Kelowna. I won't say I am a spoiled kid, but I'm definitely spoiled by the food in Hong Kong. And thirdly, there's nothing to do in Kelowna. The mall has only a few things to check out, which is really boring. Downtown Kelowna has a lot of things to check out, like the sculpture, Lululemon, Starbucks blends coffee, and the banks. Full stop. Even Tim Hortons, the largest coffee company in Canada, disappears from downtown, which are not really good. You may suggest I go skiing or somewhere outdoor, but you may not realize that you have to drive to many of the parks and stuff. And as I mentioned above, I cannot drive, so it's useless for me. Here you might wonder why I am still staying here. Mainly for two reasons. The first reason is that it's really difficult to find a school and move to another city every year. As I still have only one more year left, I chose to suffer one more year instead to avoid the troubles. But the next one is the main reason. The people in the school, especially my lovely classmates, they are very nice and helpful in everything. They helped me a lot in the past 2 years. I cannot count the amount of help that I received from them. Here I'll just list some examples. Some of them knows I don't always have a ride to somewhere, so they give me a lot of rides. And some of them even offer to give me a ride even before I ask them, which is great. Another thing is, although I am Asian, there are still tons of questions which I don't know the answer to. And whenever I ask them the questions, they are really willing to help me out. And the list goes on and on. My teachers give me a lot of assistance too, especially in the past few weeks. I was gone for school teams and stuff, and I missed a lot of class. My teachers dedicated their precious time to help me to catch up on stuff, which I am really thankful for. And also I do appreciate that when all the subjects put all the work near the end of holidays as usual, they let us have some extended time to finish the works and make our holidays a lot better. I mean, we would like to do stuff during holidays. People always ask me what my passion is and what do I want to do when I grow up. To be honest, I don't know. Although I found what my ultimate job that I want to be last year, which I have been searching for 16 years and have decided to be an aeronautical engineer. I recently realized that there's one more thing that is way harder in our life to achieve than having a good job, which is meeting with your family and friends. I can't see my family and friends that often since I was away. Uh, it's not just a phone call anymore. When I was in Hong Kong, whenever one of us feel bored, a phone call or a text message, we'll meet somewhere, and I used to think this is an easy task. Now for the fact that we are 10,000 miles away from each other, it's hard and it's tough. I have two friends which moved to Niagara Falls in Ontario to continue their high school just like me. I thought, well, it should be somewhat easier to meet each other as we are all in Canada. But no, disregarding we met in Hong Kong during long holidays. In these 2 years, we met 4 hours only. And that 4 hours is me and Larry, who is also one of my best friends from grade 7. Fly all the way to Toronto and take a total of 3 hours bus just to go to Niagara Falls. From there, we need to take Uber to go to their school to meet them. Sorry. The time and money we spent getting there is way more than we met them. From an economic standpoint, it's totally not okay. But in my standpoint, it's a great deal. And this situation will happen to me again in the next 4 years. I still can't see my old friends that often, and I won't be able to see the friends that I met here as well, as everyone will be a million miles away from each other again, and that's why I found this is a lot more challenging than having a good job. Well, it is what it is. Life is tough for everyone. Here, I should say something like, this I believe if we persevere, we'll get through the obstacles. But no, what I believe is that when people are set apart from each other, as long as the people have each another in their hearts, even if it's impossible to meet each other ever again, the distance between the people will be zero. And finally, I hope that everyone will have a good day, and we, the grade 12s, will have a wonderful university experience and a phenomenal life after graduating from here. Asian out.
Hello and good morning. My name is Omar Al Nagar. I would like to start with everything I am today is because of two things: my parents and my religion. I am the youngest child in my family. I have an older sister who's amazingly beautiful, inside and out. Her name is Sarah. She's 9 years older than I am, so she would take care of us all the time when we were young. I also have an older brother, Mustafa, who looks exactly like me. This is very ironic because I have a twin brother, however, looks nothing like me. And like you said, he's better looking. My dad was born and his dad was extremely ill. His mother later on got sick too. He had an older brother and they took care of each other. They both took care of their parents and did all they possibly could to help with anything. My dad wasn't wealthy while he was young. He had nothing but his family and his education, which he thought was the only way to success. He used to walk 10 kilometers each day back and forth from school. Him and his brother were always at the top of their classes. They used to play soccer in the streets with his friends. My dad would tell us stories about his past, how simple his family was, yet so unique and special with their love and kindness. My mother, the most beautiful woman to walk on the face of this earth, was on the contrary from a wealthy family. She was raised up to become humble, kind, and loving. My mom used to work as the top secretary in a really big company, and one day my mom's computer stopped working, so my dad popped in and fixed her computer, and that's how they got married. Anyway, time passed by, and we moved to Oman, which is an Arab country, where Ibra and I were born. I remember my dad would gather all of us in his bed and would tell us stories about his past, and tears would start crawling down his face. After hearing his stories, I knew that I was growing up without really experiencing or witnessing any of these struggles that are kept mysterious within this world. When we were ready by the age of 10, my parents decided to give up everything they had just so we can start shaping and developing our characters and personalities. When I first moved to Egypt, I despised the place. It was different from what I was used to, and I thought I'd not be welcomed. As time passed, I fell in love with my country, with the simpleness and kindness of its people, with its ruins and streets and every single thing in it. My parents encouraged my brothers and I to contribute in one of the biggest revolutions ever in history of mankind. And from the things I saw, I learned that we are all equal, whether we are different in religion, gender, whether you're rich or poor. We are all the same, and nothing should separate us. One day during Ramadan, which is a month where Muslim fasts for a whole month from sunrise to sunset, I volunteered with my cousins to help and supply food for the poor. What we basically did was cook all day long, and after we're done, we would package the food in small plastic bags, and an hour before sunset, which is when we're allowed to eat, we would go out and distribute it. I remember knocking on one door, and the smile on that family's face once they knew my purpose there meant the world to me. They welcomed me, and the hospitality that came out of them was outstanding. They invited me in, and they were persistent that I'd share the meal with them. I kept asking this question in my head as I was sitting with them watching them eat full of joy. Why is it that they fast during Ramadan if they already have so little to eat? I finally got the courage to ask, and the excuse me. I finally got the courage to ask, and the father replied with the most warm smile and said, to be thankful for all the blessings we have and to feel for the poor. I was amazed by this response. How could it be that someone who has nothing can be so kind and have such a big heart? I learned that it doesn't matter how much you have, but how much you give. I learned how amazing it feels to give, and how by helping with something very little can impact someone's life. Another huge factor that contributed towards my identity today is public transport in Egypt. My parents encouraged my brother and I to start taking the public transit at the age of 11. Now, yes, Egypt is a populated city and it might sound not very safe, but let me explain. See, my parents knew that if I took the public transit, I would really experience what ordinary simple people went through each and every day. And it's the fastest way to get to know my country and the streets of my city and become more independent. My parents would make Ibra and I go alone, and I'd be so scared. But I was determined, and I found out later that they would take the same bus that I'm in, but they never told us. They just see how we do. At school, I hang out with both good and bad friends. I soon learned the importance of choosing my friends. I remember watching this video and I heard, quote, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. It is true. Surround yourself with positive, happy people, you end up being more positive. Surround yourself with grumpy, negative people, you'll end up being grumpy and negative. As my character and personality kept developing, I was heading towards high school. Although life seemed perfect for me, at that time education in Egypt wasn't at its best. One day my parents gathered my brothers and I and told us that we were moving to Canada, to a place called Kelowna. I had never heard that place before. and I already despised it before even Googling it. When we first moved, my brothers and I were very upset, to the point where we were depressed for a bit. However, we didn't show it, because we knew it was for the best. Now, before we moved, my dad used to work as the head of the engineering department in one of the biggest universities in Egypt. I started reflecting upon my parents' decisions and realized that my parents gave up everything they had just so I can be here in front of you guys speaking and talking about my journey. My parents gave up their families, friends, jobs, houses, basically their lives, just so we can have a better future and get a better education. But more importantly, they never left their past and memories. As I also moved here, my relationship with my religion got stronger. My religion taught me to be kind, loving, caring, selfless, and most importantly, to treat everyone fairly. I made a promise to myself to apply all the things I learned in the past here in Canada to help the needy, to to help the needy, to stand for what is right, to be kind and generous, and to surround myself with people who will push me to better myself every day, and to work hard for my education. Now, after I have reflected upon the last 3 years, I realized how well of an education I have been privileged, and I am very thankful to all the teachers who helped shape who I am today. And most importantly, I'm very thankful for my parents and religion, since they were the primary reason that shaped everything I am today. I can't wait to marry someone that just believes in me, as my mom did when I was young. I can't wait to share with her what my parents have shared together. One day, I'm going to give up everything I have just so my children can have a better life. And mostly, I can't wait till I'm older so I can repay my parents, excuse me, everything they did to me. And nothing will be enough. See, I believe in the power of kindness and goodness. Human beings were meant to be good to each other, to love one another unconditionally. I owe everything to my parents. We live in such a beautiful world. Sorry, I wrote word. We live in such a beautiful world. So live every day like it's your last. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jadine Graham, and as you have probably gathered, as grade 12 have to do with speech. I struggle with speeches, and it was really hard getting up here, but I did it. I struggle with anxiety, and as you can probably tell, I'm pretty anxious right now. Anxiety affects me every day, but I've learned to accept it and found ways to help deal with it. But when it comes to any kind of presenting or having all eyes on me, it sometimes takes over. I hope that doesn't happen right now. We'll see how it goes. um, I've always struggled with performing and having all eyes on me, except for one particular case. I find I have more confidence when I go up and perform piano. It hasn't always been that way though. I fear messing up, forgetting my piece, and I fear being judged. I feel like a lot of us have these feelings at least at some point in their lives, especially while performing. I mean, getting up here and having all eyes on you can be pretty scary. I've been playing piano for 12 years now, but it took me 10 of those 12 years to overcome that fear and calm myself before performing. With this in mind, I have also realized something very important. The audience is not there to judge you. They are there to support you. Unless you're in a piano exam, that person is solely there to judge you, but that's for a good purpose. Other than that, for the most part, the people in the audience usually are friends and families of other performers. They are there to support and listen, and they don't even know what the piece is supposed to sound like to begin with. A few weeks ago, a few friends and I went to perform for the Kelowna Chorus. We were pretty nervous about this. By the end of a 45-minute set, we knew how we personally felt. Some felt they did amazing, others felt like it could have went a lot better. Despite this, the audience still loved it, and to our surprise, they gave us a standing ovation. It was incredible. Even after we were leaving, so many people came to shake our hands and tell us how incredible we did and thanked us for performing. This is just one personal experience I wanted to share, and that shows people that they are there to listen and enjoy. They weren't there to judge us. So what I have learned from this is that even if we aren't at our best, people still appreciate the efforts. And we can't go through our life always worried about being judged by other people. In life, there will be times where you cross paths with more than one judgmental person. But what you can't do is let that fear prevent you from taking the opportunity to do something that you've been working hard towards, or something that you've always wanted to do but were once afraid to try. We should be concerned knowing you, yourself, how how far you have actually come and the growth you have achieved. I am not at that level I want to be with piano yet, but I sure have come a long way. I've spent countless hours practicing and performing. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for listening. I believe that we should focus on our personal growth and how far we have come, instead of always comparing ourselves to others and worry about being judged. We need to focus on ourselves and our personal development. I believe this will help us to be more empathetic and kind to ourselves and even others. Us as performers and people need to be more aware of how the audience and people around us are not there to tear us down. They are there to support us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends and family of Aberdeen Hall. My name is Liam Jones, and I appear before you today to share my disability speech, which I'm sure, as Jaden said, you've already gathered. Before I continue, I want to apologize in advance. Some of you may have noticed I'm a bit congested, so I might have to clear my throat. Sorry. So, pardon me. But without further introduction, I'll begin. This, I believe, is a generation that will define the course of our Mother Earth's history and sustainability. Many of time before, I'm sure you've all heard those lectures about how global warming is inevitable and how it's going to come tomorrow, which I hope we all agree it's inevitable. However, I am not here to discuss that. I am here to remind everyone that it is not it is not your fathers nor your mothers who will be fixing this oncoming dilemma, nor will it be your children, but it will be you and I. It'll be Generation X and Generation Y, which I'm sure mostly takes up this room. I'm here today to remind everyone of the magnitude our generations hold with regard to the sustainability of our planet and species way of life. Before I delve too deep into this issue, I'd like to give background as to why I feel so passionately about the subject. To begin with, I was born in Ajax, Ontario, which I hope none of you have heard of. It's a little town in East Ontario that has 70,000 people to 100,000 at most on a good day. And after living there for 3 years, or 2 years and 364 days, the day before my 3rd birthday, my dad got a job opportunity, and we were able to move to a slightly bigger town called Shanghai, which houses 24 million people in its city center and 33 million including surrounding areas, where we lived for 12 years. Planning on 18 months became 12 years. Yeah. Aside from the many wonderful cultures I experienced from Asia, Europe, and just about every other corner of the earth, aside from Canada, because there's just so few Canadians, I learned many things. I learned about languages, different social hierarchies, different cultural hotspots, all sorts of cuisine, different sorts of traditions from all sorts of countries. But I also learned about pollution, the reason I come and stand before you today. I learned the foul smell of garbage dumps, as well as landfills, and just about every other human byproduct dispensed. I learned the smell of a dying environment before I could properly make sentences, like on this paper. I learned with my eyes the squalor of a path mankind can make on its way to success. So with my speech, I would like to transfer my experience onto my audience, being you. Though I'm sure if there are any international students or families that are from a country outside of one as beautiful as Canada, they may already relate to some of this or relate to what I will say. I implore you to imagine some of these examples. I implore you to imagine that you have recently enrolled your child into a high school with a promising athletic career that matches your child's sport interests. Now imagine the same school your child accepted you is now letting your child join their high school varsity team, and your child excels at such a sport, bringing them much success and happiness. Naturally, as any parent should, you'd probably feel proud. And I'm sure many hockey and volleyball families or other sport families can relate to this. With that in mind, what if your child's athletic meet or event, whether that be any sport, were to be canceled, with the reason being that poor air quality was plaguing the day? This will likely bring down the happiness of your child and infringe on their social life and infringe on maybe even family social life, as now they can't partake in something they love so deeply. I know this seems far stretched, pardon me, but I experienced this. When I'd been enrolled in the British International School of Shanghai, I liked to play sports at a young age, like many of us have. In fact, I love sports so much so, I can say with confidence that I, as well as my classmates, probably played soccer every lunch and every gym every day for a minimum of 5 years, which is a minimum of 1,825 hours. So after playing so many hours and sharing so many wonderful memories, I unfortunately lost the privilege of soccer. When I was in year 5 or 6, which is equivalent of grade 4 or 5, I lost the privilege of soccer due to the same reasons your child hypothetically had their athletic dreams crushed. The air quality in Shanghai at that time was so poor that we weren't allowed to play soccer during lunch, we weren't allowed to play soccer outside of gym. In fact, we weren't allowed to play gym or go outside for gym at all. With this in mind, I asked myself why this was. Why couldn't I fix this and why was this happening to me? Of course I know now it's because I wasn't an engineering or environmentalist genius, as I am not now. So I accepted my role in partaking in sustainability of my environment. I accepted myself as an advocate for sustainability, as there's an underlying responsibility in all of us to be an advocate for our Mother Earth's health. I know that though we may not be the forerunners of our age to service and provide creative methods like Elon Musk, or be able to directly combat the decay of our Earth's health, I learned that we are the ones who will provide our forerunners with a voice, as without our support to rally behind them, they are without power, and their innovation will be snuffed. If you still don't believe me, I'd like to transition to my next point. Hypothetically, again, let's say if there was a disease that plagued pigs or any other specific animal that we have in our menus daily. Hopefully you think this is tragic. And hopefully we can all agree this is horrible, but we do this out of pure sympathy, as this has never happened in Kelowna. And if it did, I think the biggest infringement in our lives is that we can't have pork on our menu. This hypothetical situation sounds pretty horrible, I hope. But although this may seem far-stretched, this did happen. 16,000 pigs in Shanghai had died due to disease, and the farmers were stockpiled with literal mountains of dead animals, which is horrible, I know. Fortunately for the farmers, there was a river called the Huangpu River that flows directly through Shanghai, much like Harvey or the Highway 97 goes through Kelowna. They dumped all 16,000 dead pigs into this river, and all those dead pigs floated through the homes of 20 million people. And the next day, the newspaper reading, 16,000 pigs take the Huangpu River. Please do not enter in any family activities near this time. I know this sounds horrible, and it sounds like a horror movie. But the reason I project such a grim memory is because I want to get the point across that what happens thousands of miles away in remote farms in China affects the most eastern coast of China, Shanghai. This could be just the same as said for Kelowna. If you consider Kelowna small, let's say Kelowna were to run out of peaches. Likely Vancouver or surrounding neighborhoods would not have peaches. If 16,000 peaches were to go rotten and roll down the streets of Vancouver, it would be a little inconvenient. With that in mind, I implore you to take the message from this anecdote in either one or all of 3 ways. Know that what we do regarding environmental sustainability does in turn affect the big picture. Know that no matter where you are in the world, you are never safe from pollution catching up to you, even if you are in one of the most technologically advanced cities like I was. And know that we are all entitled to a happy and safe life for ourselves, our children, and our parents. But in order to achieve this, we must be responsible. We must be responsible in the countryside, miles away from civilization. We must be responsible in our oceans, miles away from all life other than sea life. And we must be responsible at home, just as any other economist or world visualist will say. Our planet is interconnected more now than ever. As one more example, I would like to give you the Fukushima power plant disaster. This was a disaster that happened 5 years ago on the coast of Japan, which was 10,000 kilometers away. Today, the radiation leaked from the Fukushima power plant in Japan has been detected in the Okanagan Lake. I mean this by saying that there's radiation found in the Okanagan Lake spawned from the power plant, which isn't dangerous, of course. And this happened 5 years ago, 10,000 miles away, so you can imagine it's pretty detrimental. Therefore, again, I emphasize a point that never have we been so aware and interconnected of everything in the world, for good or for bad. Therefore, I implore you to use this to your advantage. Please use this to your advantage in a way that you can send your message across the entire world of how responsible we have when taking care of our planet, as for now it's the only one we have. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Pashluck. My 13-year experience here at Aberdeen has been really amazing, and in every way has turned me into who I am today. Started going to Aberdeen way back in kindergarten. Back then, I didn't have many, or the school didn't have too many grades, and definitely only had about 50 students as a whole. Not too many others were there, but I remember our old campus, and this one compared to that one is kind of hard to think about. The old building had maybe 5 classrooms, a gym that was older than I can describe, and a wooden playground. We used to come visit this new site and look at the new school being built. I remember moving into the junior building, and I remember our tiny senior building that is now our preschool. Not only have I seen the building grow, but I've seen the staff grow. Some of my peers and I have been here longer than most of the teachers, even longer than Mr. Grieve. I have to say that I've always loved the way it feels to be able to get so much help regardless of what it is. It's not like any other school because of its ability to change people and direct them for where they need to go. And this goes for me. I can admit that I definitely have not always been the best student. I'm not putting down on myself or saying I'm not smart. I'm just admitting to things like not being prepared for class or not doing homework because something new came out on Netflix. But as I got a bit older, I recognized that acting this way wasn't going to help me go where I wanted to go. And most of the teachers saw this too. Certain members of the school helped me tremendously and made me want to work harder for those dreams that seemed out of reach. Some different things made part of my high school experience harder at times, such as losing loved ones or just falling behind. But no matter what, these people kept my eyes open to the big picture. Sometimes this meant honest and hard conversations when needed to help me get back on the right track. These are the same people that would help me recognize that I had some skill, and they were also the people to help me strengthen that. And this is the reason I'm going into the program I wanted to, and the reason I knew I could get into it. The preparation for the future that students can get here really isn't found anywhere else. And for the great job they did preparing me and the rest of us, I really can't say thank you enough. Overall, here at Aberdeen has been a great experience. I got to meet a lot of great people, got to build a lot of lifelong connections, but I also got to shape myself here. I won't forget seeing the campus grow or the amount of students grow, but most importantly, I won't forget the people here. Thanks.